going to presumably going to be the busiest weeks this year. When you look at the year 2023, we've had a little bit of slow performance on the exchange, but not so as per the trading that we had this Monday. As per the Uganda Securities Exchange, the trading on the Uganda Securities Exchange had at least 4 equities participating, with the day ending with one single gainer, and that was Nation Media Group, appreciating 1.33%. And on the losing side, we had a couple of stocks, including Jubilee Holdings Limited, who came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 1.54%, down to 4,251.8 Ugandan shillings. Now, Equity Bank lost at least 0.78%, whereas the Kenya Airways stock lost 0.39%. Now, this was following reports from the Kenya Airways financial year performance of 2022, which indicated that the company had actually doubled its losses to over 39 million US dollars. Now, Centum Investments as well followed suit with a loss of at least 0.38%. Now, as per the trading participants, interestingly, on the exchange yesterday, Umeme, the distributor and supplier of electricity in Uganda, was able to release their fiscal year 2022 financial results. And following that, the trading for the stock went up with a volume of at least over 135,000 shares traded, having at least a turnover of 161 million, which remarkably was one of the best days of Umeme this month. Now, Umeme is currently the top dog when it comes to trading and in terms of turnover on the market, with the past 3 months having at least over 4.39 billion Ugandan shillings in turnover and close to 15.1 million shares, with an average of at least 238,000 shares traded every single trading session. Now, as per data, Umeme shows that the price was maintained at 300 shillings, which was quite interesting. And Umeme currently has a market capitalization of close to 487 billion, of course, thanks to the high share price there of 300 shillings, but also to over about 1.62 billion shares that are floated on the exchange for Umeme's stock. Now, currently, the markets have already been able to witness the unveiling of the financial results for Umeme 2022. Now, we're going to take a look at some of these and see what could be the take home for you as an investor, and if this could be one of the things that you could actually best on to invest in Umeme as they say bye to Uganda in 2025. Now, as per the performance from the fiscal year financial results for 2022 that were audited by 31st December 2022, the revenue marginally increased for Umeme from close to about 1.8 trillion or 1,885 billion Ugandan shillings to 1.887 or 1.887 trillion or 1,887 billion shillings. Now, that's over about 2,000 billions in value, rather 2 extra billions in value there addition from the sales. The underlying drivers of the growth included at least increase in the electricity demand, a reduction in the energy losses, an increase in the new connections pricing, as well as revenues from electricity distribution, construction services. Revenue from electricity sales increased by 7% as per the report, on account of the volumes that grew from at least about 9.7% during the year 2022, and the average tariff reduction of at least 2.6%. Now, the cost of sales increased at least 0.9% to at least 1.2 trillion, and this is during the financial year as per 1.243 in 2021. Now, reporting Also, this cost of sales was due to the decrease was due to an increase in the generation levy from 0.3% to 0.7%. Now, most interestingly, as a shareholder, always, of course, you're looking out for the profit, and the gross profit of the company reduced this time round. Remember, reduced at least by 1.5% to at least 633 billion shillings. This is from 642 billion shillings. That's about 10 billion shillings, a reduction of the previous year. According to the company reports, the reduction is due to the expenditure, the reduction in there's a reduction in the capital expenditure and performance on energy losses compared to the set tariff parameter, also contributed to the gross profit results of 2022. And of course, inflationary pressures during the year that increased the operating costs by about 3% to over 247 billion from 240 billion Ugandan shillings. The general reconstruction, reconfiguration of their operating areas into the zones and insourcing of network operation activities anchored on their technology platforms also improved the operating efficiencies. Now, as per the, of course, data, we can get to straight the dividend because that's where we are most interested in as investors. Where is the benefit? And when you look at the dividend this year, the board of directors recommended a final dividend of 63.9 Ugandan shillings per share to be paid for the year ended 2022 31st December. Now, last year but one, in 2021, and rather Wumeme issued the biggest dividend on the market here in Uganda of 54.1. This time round they are raising the game, and the board of directors have suggested 63.9. This is almost 10 shillings higher compared to 2021 financial year. Now, this of course is subject to approval of the shareholders at their annual general meeting, which is scheduled for the 18th of May 2023. The dividend, which is also subject to the withholding tax, will be paid on or about 20th July 2023 to shareholders registered in the books of the company at the closure of business on the 30th of June 2023, in line with the Uganda Securities Exchange Trading Rules 2021. An investor that purchases Wumeme shares on or before 27th of June shall be entitled to the dividend. That's of course very important information for you there from Wumeme. Just take note of, first of all, the dates. The book closure date seemingly is 27th of June. So you have to be able to buy shares before 27th of June to be able to benefit from this dividend issuance. But also, you must be able to pay a withholding tax. There's a withholding tax that will be paid around 20th of July 2023 for all those who will be receiving that dividend. But most interestingly is that the dividend has gone up, and this is from 54.1 shillings to 63.9 shillings, if that is approved, of course, by the shareholders on the 18th of May 2023. Now, if you're a shareholder, of course, that's very important information for you there as well. On the 18th, it is extremely a mandate that you must observe to attend the annual general meeting of Wumeme, if at all you are actually a shareholder with the company. That's currently what we can get for you from Wumeme. But remember, of course, there's a lot happening. They will be leaving Uganda in 2025 after the expiration of their concession, which lasted now 20 years, since 2005, where they've been serving the government of Uganda as a distributor and supplier of electricity. They will be handing back this responsibility to government, and who knows who will be the next Wumeme. We have no idea. But as for now, we know that the company is still doing quite well and performing as per the contract they signed with Uganda government. Away from Umeme, of course, there were other stocks that performed well, and among these were Bank of Baroda, who returned with a gain, with a trade of 135,000 shares, closing at 85.0 Ugandan shillings. Now, getting to look at Bank of Baroda Uganda stock, currently valued at over 213 billion, representing 1.13% of the Uganda Securities Exchange market. It's currently the 12th most valuable on the market. Now, the Bank of Baroda stock had at least 135,000 shares traded that were valued at 11.5 million Ugandan shillings. And this remains, the company remains at 85 shillings and with over 2.5 billion shares floating on the exchange here in Uganda. Bank of Baroda is currently the 4th most traded on stock in the last 3 months of trading on the exchange, with a total of close to 3.41 million shares valued at over 290 million Ugandan shillings traded over the last 3 months. Now, on average, they trade at least 54,154 shares per trading session. And that is Bank of Baroda stock for you as well. Getting to look at MTN Uganda, they had at least 17,300 shares, ending the day, however, with a loss of 0.09 Ugandan shillings. That was dropped off their price. MTN Uganda rather closed at 170.00 Ugandan shillings per share after a 0.05% was dropped off the shareholders' value at the company. Currently, the company stock at the current price after 17,000 shares were traded had at least a value of 2.94 million Ugandan shillings in turnover that was actually spent on shares. Over 22.4 billion shares are currently floated on the exchange for MTN, bringing the market capitalization of the company to 3.81 trillion Ugandan shillings. MTN Uganda maintains the second position in terms of the most traded on stocks in the last 3 months, from the 20th of December to the 27th of March. They have had at least a record volume of over 21.3 million shares valued at 3.82 billion Ugandan shillings. Away from MTN, Uganda Cranes traded 20 shares. Yes, a very small volume there, but yes, it participated in the trading of the Uganda Securities Exchange on Monday. Now, Uganda Cranes currently still claims over 0.07% of the equity market on the Uganda Stock Exchange, with a market capitalization of close to over 13.5 billion Ugandan shillings. In the last 3 months, the Uganda Clay stock actually is the 5th most traded on stock, with at least a total volume of 1.08 million shares that has been recorded in the last 3 months. And that's it from the Uganda Stock Exchange participants. Now back to when you look at the stocks here that performed well and of course that appreciated, and the volumes that did improve. The Uganda Securities Exchange All Share Index inched up at least 1.48%, and this what were the 1.48 points up to at least 1,107.49 points. Of course, this is attributable to the performance of the stocks such as Nation Media Group that appreciated in price there on the stock exchange. Now, on the other hand, the local company index decreased 0.03%, and that was due to the decline in price by MTN stock. This was down to 264.95 points on the local company index, which is now counting a year-to-date loss of at least 2.83%. In terms of the volumes showed at least 806 improvement percentage, and when you look at the turnover, there was an 848% improvement in the turnover, and market capitalization slightly changed to 19.4 trillion Ugandan shillings on the market. And that's the trading, my friend, from the Uganda Stock Exchange. Remember, to trade on the exchange, you need an SCD account, and to get one, you just need to go online and go to www.usd.org.com. You will follow the prompts and be able to enjoy a return on your investment. All you need to do is open that account via Easy Portal, and then the rest is history. Of course, get in touch with the stockbroker to help you get access to the markets, and this is supposed to be a licensed stockbroker as well. Now, getting ahead to the markets, the Nairobi Securities Exchange also perhaps had a better day of trading because the all-share index at least appreciated 0.9 points, which was at least about 0.81% improvement. 48 companies participated in trading that saw at least the day end with 20 gainers and 17 losers. HF Group, at least, or Housing Finance Group, led the gainers with a 9.65% appreciation in price, up to a price of 3.75 Kenyan shillings per share. In total, Kenya added at least 9.54%, Equity Group Holdings 8.54%, and Home Africa at least over 7.14%. On the losing side, Kenya Reinsurance Corporation came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of at least 7.14% at a 1.69 Kenyan shillings loss. Other losers included Olympia Capital Holdings and Diamond Trust Bank, which lost 4.73% and 3.14% respectively. Safaricom recorded the highest volume, 2.34 million shares traded, and Kenya Power and Lighting Company came in the second position in terms of the movement at over 1.75 million shares traded. Cooperative Bank of Kenya had at least 982,000 shares that were recorded. Kenya's market saw an improvement of at least 78% in the volume and 82% decline in the turnover. Of course, that's due to a decline in the performance of Safaricom currently on the market. Getting over to the United States, the US stocks were mixed on Monday, while bank stocks also moved upward after North Carolina Best Bank, that is called First Citizens Bank, agreed to buy most of Silicon Valley Bank, which collapsed 2 weeks ago. Now, checking in on the indexes, we had the major indexes by 2 p.m. Eastern time yesterday. The S&P 500 up at least 0.2%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained over 0.6%, while the Nasdaq at least was down by 0.5%. The bond yields bounced back, with the yield on the 10-year Treasury coming up to at least by 3.5% on Monday morning, and the WTI crude oil was at least at $70 per barrel. Now, stocks, when you if you followed up with last week's performances, the stocks ended a very volatile week last week with gains on Friday, in a week that saw the Federal Reserve raise the interest rates by 0.25% on Wednesday. While, of course, the pressures on the US and the European banking sectors remain in focus for many investors. Shares of the Dutch bank came under heat on Friday after, of course, the costs of insuring the bank against the credit default spiked overnight. The major stocks markets indexes all tallied a winning week in the end, with the Dow Jones gaining 1.2% and the S&P 500 at least 1.4%, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite was up by 1.7%. Now, this week, if you look ahead, the banks will still dominate the headlines again, with their earnings and, of course, economic calendars in light. The Senate Banking Committee will also hold a hearing on bank failures on Tuesday, with the witness list including the FDIC, or the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation Chairman Martin Greenberg, and that's the Federal Reserve Vice Chairman Michael Barr, and Treasury Undersecretary Nellie Liang in the meetings there that will seek to resolve the turmoil that's currently being witnessed in the banking sector. Now, Wall Street's heavyweights, JP Morgan, have been also trying to, for more than a week, to raise capital for the First Republic Bank, which included at least over 30 billion US dollars in cash lifeline amid the failures of regional banks such as the Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. Away from the US markets, just to return you slightly to the Ugandan and Kenyan market, the stock market here in Kenya and Uganda. Of course, media has been awash with the reports of Kenya Airways that have indicated that the airline has more than doubled its losses, hitting a record 38.26 billion Kenyan shillings, which is over close to 290 million US dollars. Now, of course, this is for the financial year ended last year, 2022. Now, this has been, of course, put to the increasing financing costs after government took over the servicing of one of the dollar-dominated loans of the company. The net loss grew 1.4 times from 15.87 billion Kenyan shillings, or close to about 120.55 million, posted in 2021 to over 38.26 billion Kenyan shillings. And of course, this takes the national carrier's accumulated loss to over 172.68 billion in the last 2 years. However, the board says that Kenya Airways is on course to hit a break-even point this year and profitability by 2024, something it has not done since 2012 when it closed with a net earnings of at least 1.66 billion Kenyan shillings. According to, of course, the Kenya Airways chief executive, Alan Kilabuka, he says, and I quote, "We are emerging and I am very excited with what we are doing. We have a journey to walk to 2024, but green shoots of change have started to show." Well, will Kenya Airways issue a dividend this year? Not likely. But of course, the company executives there and the board of directors are assuring us that they will be able to break even this year in 2023 and even register a profit in 2024. We look forward to that. And thank you so much again for choosing to join us this morning and for watching Smart 24 TV. My name is Anthony. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Anthony Sebale and follow Smart 24 TV at Smart 24 TV. And of course, check out Altex East Africa with their latest bonds and dial *292# to experience the magic and get to transfer money off your mobile wallet to Altex East Africa. We are regulated by the Capital Markets Authority. And there you have it, my friends. See you tomorrow. Have a very wonderful day. Bye for now.